Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the SoCal Prep Report. Rich Estrella along with Bob Gibson, and we're coming to you today from the Odyssey Restaurant in Granada Hills. Today, this is the site of the LA City Section Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. And Bob, they got a long list of people here today.
Oh my gosh, look at that program. You see all the names in there?
Yep.
It's crazy. We're going to talk to so many of them here throughout the show. It's really an honor to be here, for sure.
Too many to mention right now.
Yeah, right.
By the way, baseball for the LA and C.I.F Southern Section. If you look at the crawl down below, you'll see the pairings. We just don't have time today, man. We got to talk to a lot of people. Matter of fact, we're going to cruise over to Carlos Pena. Carlos Pena's got somebody over there. Carlos.
Hi, folks. I'm here with the legendary Coach Kamiyama. That's the only way I know how to describe him. You've always been coach to me. I was at the same high school when you were there, and of course your wife.
Yeah.
Here we are honoring your wife. How does that feel?
Feels great. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, my family, her friends are here tonight. Her former ball players are here, and it's just really, really it's a great day.
Yeah, she's just an amazing woman. I mean, she was involved in the creation of Title IX, and she was the first woman, Asian woman, to be involved in college. I mean, what was that all about? I mean,
she was a basketball official and a volleyball official. And she was the first Asian to do college basketball and college volleyball. And she's the first Asian to do a national championship in college volleyball.
Amazing. I'm so proud of her. I'm sure you are. Now, I remember in high school watching her run around. I never knew she was such an accomplished woman.
Yeah.
It's amazing how,
She cared about the kids, and that was her main point. The kids were her primary responsibility. And it's just like my son will tell you, when she came home, she never brought her work home. But when she went to school, it was about the kids and the faculty members, her co-workers.
Yeah, I definitely remember her. She's walking around all the gyms with her visor.
Yeah.
Just always with the kids, mentoring the kids, affecting lives. Ultimately, that was what she was there for. It's just amazing seeing her here and being honored today.
Yeah, she has a lot of great memories, and I think I have a DVD I'm going to give to all the people who are here today that are representing my family and everybody, and they're going to get to bring back some good memories.
Yeah, definitely. Coach, I'm sure you're very proud. Congratulations.
Thank you, Carlos.
It's been an honor seeing you again.
Thank you.
And it's going to be a great day today.
Thank you.
Okay, we're talking with Hall of Famer Eric Sondheimer. And Eric, you've had a long career as a sports writer with the Daily News and, of course, the Los Angeles Times. You've talked to hundreds of athletes that have gone on to do great things in the college ranks and the professional ranks. Looking back, what were some of your greatest, articles maybe you've written or interviews you've done?
Well, one of the highlights was in 1982, Brett Sabringham threw a no-hitter at Dodger Stadium in the C championship game out of Cleveland High, and never forget it. After the game was well over, there's an argument in the parking lot between his parents who was going to take him to be interviewed by Fred Rogan on the Channel 4 News. But he was a great kid, went on to become a success story really early on, Cy Young Award winner, and most importantly, he never changed. He always came back to the San Fernando Valley, became a coach at Calabasas, and even though he became famous and rich, he never left us, and those are the people I like. I tried to hire several of these people as sports writers,
correspondents,
and they never wanted to stay. Jeff Suppan took some scores for a week at the Daily News. People would call in their scores, and he left. He said, "Okay, this is not for me."
Oh my.
But he became a great pitcher, obviously, in the major leagues, and Trevor Plouffe. One time we had him as a co-host, Randy Rosenbloom and I, and he did a great job, and now he's retired, so he should get into doing TV because he did a great job back then. But it's mostly about learning, making relationships, and then watching them grow up, and then seeing if they're maintain quality and become a quality adult.
It's got to be tough, too, because you write a lot of tough articles. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. It's always good to say, well, they did this today, 5 home runs. Oh, it's great. But sometimes you got to go to the other side because there's scandals and stuff like that. But you seem to navigate yourself around that pretty well, because I don't know too many people that will not talk to you.
Well, there are people who will not talk to me.
Me too.
But that's okay. It's okay. My job is to tell the truth and try to inform, entertain, and also uncover things that shouldn't be happening. And so I take that responsibility seriously. Most of the time my stories are positive, but you're right. There are times that are very tough, and you have to write things that somebody may not like. But the key is if they don't like it, they respect you, and you're being professional, and you're presenting both sides of a story.
Absolutely, as long as you do that, and that's something that seems to be lost nowadays in all facets of being a writer, whether it be a sports writer, feature writer, whatever. Let's talk about yourself now, Eric. Did you think, after all this time, is this what you set out to do in life? And when you were in high school, you were thinking, I'd like to be a sports writer, I'd like to be a scribe, or, something of that ilk, journalism?
Definitely, I did, but I didn't think I'd ever be a Hall of Fame.
Come on.
In a sports Hall of Fame, I'm 5'3", I run a 7 flat 40. I'm Jewish.
Oh, there you go.
There's no way that I'm going to be a Hall of Fame, but it's a fun situation. My mentor was Pete Kochen, and he wrote about high school sports for 50 years, and I said, that would be an interesting little goal to do, and I'm getting there. And the key for me is working in Southern California. There's so much variety of sports and personalities and people, and then each organization that I've worked for, high school sports has been important to them.
Right.
And that's been the key for me, because I always tell the newspaper, if it's not important to you, let me know, because I'm going to leave. And so when I started the Daily News, I would get frustrated sometimes, but they always said, it's important. And the same thing when I went over to the LA Times in '97. I said, I'm coming, but it better remain important. And things have changed so much in the newspaper business. And I learned how to shoot videos, and that's made things even more interesting for me.
Yeah. Well, Eric, I got to tell you, one thing that's been a constant in Southern California in the Los Angeles Times is their high school sports section featuring Eric Sondheimer. It's always great, Eric, when you have a guy that you can rely on, that you can depend on, that when the story's breaking, this guy's going to be here to get it, because people know him, and he's the top writer in Southern California. So, Eric, this has probably been a long time in coming, but congratulations, little buddy. You've made it.
Appreciate it.
You're in a hall among giants, if you think about it.
Thank you, but I'm not retiring soon.
No, that's not what we're talking about. That's not at all what we're alluding to. But
appreciate your
comments.
comments.
Just remember, your work's been appreciated.
Thank you.
Because you only hear the bad news, Eric. It's only when they don't like it. That's the only time we hear from people. But
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, continued success.
All right, it's my honor to visit with Don Buford, City Section Hall of Famer. How's that sound to you?
Well, I don't know. It's been 63 years since I left high school, so it sounds pretty good.
What was it like at Dorsey High back in those days?
Back in those days, it was a lot of fun. Dorsey was an outstanding school in sports, and we were fortunate. We had some championship ball clubs, and there were some outstanding players that were kind of mentors in a sense. I remember Billy Consolo went to the major leagues and got a large bonus, and he had to sit on the bench for a year. I was playing baseball, so I said, I don't know, I want to take that kind of bonus. I want to play.
Seems like everybody here has a story about a coach or two that really helped them along the way, and I'm sure you're no different, right?
No different. For baseball, Bud Brubaker was the coach for baseball, and we won the city in baseball, and then he also was a punter in football, so I played both football and baseball in high school. And he used to punt to me and tell me how the ball was going to go and how it's going to bounce and that kind of thing. So it ended up being very refreshing to know that I knew how to handle punts and stuff after I got to college.
Right. Was baseball just kind of naturally the sport you gravitated more towards?
Well, yes, I love baseball, and as kids we used to form our own team, play at Rancho La Cienega, and on Saturdays if we had 8 players, we could play the game and not forfeit. If you had 9 or 10, you were fine. And most of the time we had 8, so I learned a lot of baseball because having a little speed, I used to play the outfield, and so the right fielder and the left fielder would play mid outfield positions, and the infield, we'd cover the infield for double plays and stuff, so we did a lot of running.
Now, most of you probably do know it, but you might. This gentleman has 3 World Series championship rings. 3 of them.
Very fortunate.
Not easy to come by those rings.
No,
huh?
not easy to come by. Fortunately, we were 3 World Series, 1969, 70, 71, and played with Hall of Famers Frank Robinson, Jim Palmer and Earl Weaver, who are our manager, all are in the Hall of Fame. Brooks Robinson, I can't leave him out, the vacuum cleaner. And so we had some outstanding players. In fact, we're the only team in Major League Baseball history that had 4 20-game winners. We had 3 one year, and the next year we had 4. So can you name those winners? Those players?
Jim McNally.
Dave McNally.
No, Dave McNally, I'm sorry. Jim Palmer. And who am I missing?
Mike Cuellar.
Mike Cuellar, yeah.
And Pat Dobson.
Pat
Okay, I'll help you out.
See, he got me. I got 2 of the 4. What's it been like to kind of visit with some of your fellow Hall of Famers here? And there's so many different sports represented and so many different eras as well.
Well, it's really a pleasure, and to know that a lot of the individuals that are receiving Hall of Fame awards today are people that had a lot of desire and a good attitude about going to school, getting their grades, and being good students, and learning life skills. And I think sports does that.
Well, congratulations to you. It's quite an honor, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is Don Buford, and let's throw it back over to Rich.
All right, we're talking with Randy Rosenbloom, another inductee into the City Section Hall of Fame, and Randy is the voice of the LA City Section. There's no doubt about it. Randy's called hundreds of games, probably C.I.F championships over the years. And Randy, first of all, congratulations. This is a big honor today.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I'm really excited. Of course, being part of SoCal Prep Report, it's good to see you guys here as well. And it is a wonderful honor. You know, I see all the great athletes on the patio here tonight, and it's going to be a great event, a lot of people, and it's a tribute to a lot of hard work by a lot of different individuals. And I put in my time, and you're right, I did a lot of different championship games, over 100 in the different sports, and covered all their sports for over X decades. We'll just leave it at that, X decades.
Yeah, and you know what? The city section is a tough section to cover. It really is, because it's so spread out.
Right.
You know, the southern section may be the biggest, but the LA City section is geographically probably the biggest, because, you know, you go all the way from the valley all the way down here to Garfield, Roosevelt. I mean, that's a long haul.
Yeah, you got Narbonne out the other way. You're
absolutely.
going way out there in
San
Wilmington,
Pedro,
yeah,
absolutely.
Carson. No, it's a lot of good schools, a lot of great tradition. A lot of wonderful players, a lot of talent have come out of here. If you look at the program and just see the names that have gone into this Hall of Fame, in my field, I look at Al Michaels.
Right.
He's in the Hall of Fame. You look at tennis, you got a Bobby Riggs. Football, John Elway. Basketball, Marcus Johnson.
Big time out here.
Yeah, I mean, this Hall of Fame is littered with unbelievable names. So to be part of that is a fabulous thing.
Well, Randy, there's no doubt you are Mr. City Section. There's no question about it. You've also done other stuff. You've done the Reebok Bowl back in the 90s,
Sure.
which was a southern section thing. And, I mean, that was a statewide thing, actually. That was pretty big. So, you know, you've seen it all. Any highlights you want to talk about real quick? Anybody you want to mention? You've done so many stories. I know to even ask them that at this juncture, based on my experience, is tough to nail down. But there's got to be a few up there.
Well, I think the friendship with Eric Sondheimer over the years. I mean, you just talk with Eric.
And isn't that weird? Because usually TV and the scribes don't really get a little jealousy there, Randy.
Well,
typically.
You know, I've learned a lot from Eric. I mean, my career was mostly college and professional sports, and then I did some high school in the early days. And then because of Eric, you know, I was able to hook onto a lot of different shows earlier in my career, and I've followed a lot in his footsteps. So I owe a lot to Eric Sondheimer. In terms of highlights, probably the San Pedro Narbonne football game many years ago. It was a game where Narbonne was down by 2 touchdowns in the final 4 minutes, scored 2 touchdowns, one on a touchdown throw to Wishadell in the left corner of the end zone as time expired from 15 yards. They come out, instead of going for 2 for the win, they kicked the point after to tie it. And at that time, there was no overtime in the city section. So they became co-champions, San Pedro and Narbonne. And that became really the game that showcased, hey, we got to change the rules. We got to have overtime. So they'll never be co-champions again. But that's the one game, the one event. And there's been many, many great events over
ridiculous.
the years. That was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous the amount of stuff you've done. But Randy, it's a great honor to be enshrined into this club. There's no doubt about it. As you mentioned, the Hall of Famers galore in the NFL, in college, in high school, at their own schools. So this is a big thing. But again, well-deserved, my friend. Congratulations,
Thanks, Rich.
man.
All right.
You're immortalized. Once again, how many Hall of Fames you in now?
Well, I'm in 2 Hall of Fames,
There
and
you
I've
go.
got a lot of different coaches awards, too, in Southern California and in this
All
state.
right.
So.
Well, they know what you've been up to, and it's all been good. All right, Randy, congratulations
Rich.
once again.
Thanks.
Okay, we're talking with Vince Ferragamo, and of course, you better know Vince Ferragamo. Most popular quarterback, I think, in Los Angeles history. First guy to take the Rams to a Super Bowl, and just an outstanding high school athlete. Vince, congratulations first for getting in the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you very much.
I mean, that's just got to be fantastic. Your high school career, you're an All-American, you were a City Player of the Year. This guy was a basketball player, baseball player. I mean, what did you do in high school, Vince?
Well, you know what? I had to play football. That was the thing. My dad said, you're going to go to Banning High School. I was even thinking of going to Carson, playing for Gene Volnagel, but I had to go play for my brother. And but, you know, as things turned out, I'm glad I did because of the work ethic and what we were able to accomplish and all the lives that he changed for the better for all the players throughout the years. And, you know, I graduated in 1972, which is a long time ago, but I got a chance to go to college and get a scholarship. I was thrilled, and then obviously getting drafted by the LA Rams and got to come home and play in LA from Nebraska. It was a great thrill, and you know, being in the Super Bowl was obviously one of the highlights of my career. So it was a fun career.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how intelligent Vince Ferragamo is. This guy was a med student. Didn't you graduate with a pre-med degree or something like that?
Well, I was, you know, I had to keep the GPA up pretty high, you know. I had to impress my mom and dad, but I did get a chance to be a pre-med major, and I went to Cal first for 2 years, which was a very high academic standing school.
Absolutely.
And then went on to Nebraska, and it was great. Although, you know, graduate with a degree in arts and sciences, that I couldn't apply that because when I got drafted by the Rams in the 4th round, you know, I ended up starting playing, and I didn't know if I was going to play that long, and I ended up playing, you know, 10 years in the NFL. So it was
you gotta go. You gotta go.
I couldn't go back to med school. So, but my daughter followed in my footsteps, and Vanessa is a pediatrician now, so we're very proud of her.
Now, what was your biggest thrill in high school? Football.
Biggest thrill, obviously, was the Banning-Carson game. It was the biggest game.
That's always the biggest
game in
the nation.
We had a packed house.
Yes.
It was a big game. Gene Volnagel matched up to Chris Ferragamo, and both teams were vying for the national, for the championship. And back in those days, it was called the Marine League, and we beat Carson 35-34 at El Camino Real. But my biggest memory was stalling and running out the clock at the end of the game after Clarence Reese caught that big the bomb touchdown. And we went ahead and we stayed ahead, and we didn't give the ball back to Carson. Otherwise, we might have gotten beat. But it was the biggest thrill because the entire community of Wilmington joined us on the field. I mean, everybody was there, and it was just the excitement of the thrill of beating Carson and to move on. And it really changed the whole complexion of the Banning football after that.
Oh, it was crazy. Those were the best days of football, some of the best football in the country back in those days. And that score should give you an idea how competitive it was out here as well. You had a historic game, 505 or 515 or something like that, yards passing against the Atlanta Falcons. I don't remember
Chicago
what year.
Bears.
Was it the Bears? Okay.
Chicago Bears, yeah.
Real quick, how was that, man? I mean, not a lot of guys had done that because they didn't throw the ball a lot in those days, but you threw deep.
Yeah, the game was much different back in those days. You know, the rules are changed today, but, you know, threw for 509 yards, which at the time was the second highest total. Van Brocklin had thrown for more yards than I, something like that. Yeah. But I was thrilled to be invited into that 500-yard class team. But it was against the Bears. That was the game Walter Payton broke the all-time rushing record, and you know, they presented him with the ball at halftime. And late in the game,
it overshadowed
Chuck Benedict came to me, who was the PR guy, and he sat next to me. He says, "You know, you're approaching a 500-yard passing game." I go, "You got to be kidding me, really?" He goes, "Yeah, keep going." It was turned out to be great, but you know, a lot of great memories. Play with a lot of great athletes. You can't do it yourself.
I didn't know that was Walter Payton's game when he broke the record. So I mean, that's great. That's just great. Well, Vince, listen, you've had a great career. We can go on and on and on. There's so many different twists and turns in your life, and it's all been fun and interesting. We got to roll. We want to talk to your brother Chris next. But congratulations,
Good, thank you. Thanks,
Vince.
Rich.
I mean, I don't know where this
much.
ranks in your thing because you're a Hall of Famer with everybody in Los Angeles, but you know,
it ranks with one of the best because he and I are both being inducted at the same time.
That's fantastic.
It's great. Thank you very much.
Can't beat that. Let's talk to Chris now. Okay, now we're talking with Chris Ferragamo. Chris was the head coach over at Banning High School for some time, won 8 city titles, all right? Only one other guy's won more than Coach here. And Chris, first of all, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame here.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure. Real honor too.
Ferragamo was the architect of a ton of stellar teams. I mean, these were killer teams back in the 70s and 80s, and some of the best teams in the country, actually. And we know Gene Volnogel pretty much took care of the 60s in the city, but then you came in and had a great run in the 70s.
Well, Gene Volnogel was my high school coach.
Oh, what's
he
that?
taught
Okay.
me everything I know. Him and Paul Hebner.
Right.
At Banning High School. Then they went to Carson High School, and I had to take over at Banning. And always had the same kind of coaches. We had all my assistant coaches were former students of mine.
Wow.
And they were there 15 years, so we had time to build a program, and that's what happened. We had great kids come in. They were hard workers, dedicated. And so then my brother came in '69. We started throwing the ball more because he could throw the ball, and things started to work out well for us.
How tough's it coaching your brother? I've heard of fathers coaching their sons, but how about coaching your brother? What's that like?
It was easy except for him learning everything. I remember in the Fremont game, we're on a goal line. I said, Vince, if there's more people on the right, run the play to the left. There's more people on the left, run the play to the right. So there's more people on the right, and what's he do? He runs the play to the right. So after that play, he comes out the sideline. I took my clipboard and broke it over his helmet.
I've seen that happen a few
mad.
times.
I was so mad.
And this guy's could have been a doctor, no doubt about it. Vince is a very intelligent guy.
Oh yeah, he was going to be. He was a calculus major in high school and college, and he was an academic All-American.
Yes, he was. In Nebraska too. Carried it on into
At
college.
Nebraska, yeah.
An academic All-American as well. What is your fondest memory about coaching at Banning? Is there one game, 2 games? Is it a player?
It was probably the game where Freeman McNeil was playing for us in '76. The morning he had missed the pregame meal at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock game, he missed the pregame meal at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I said to Joe Dominguez, my assistant coach, Joe, get his uniform, put it in the locker room, and get it on the bus so he may come in late. So in the morning, about 11:15, we had to leave at 11:30. An old Sanford & Son truck pulls up alongside school, filled with these 3 guys up front. Freeman wasn't there, so the guy gets out, takes off the tarp off the back, and all this grass pops out, and Freeman pops out of the grass. I said, "What are you doing, Freeman?" Coach is like, "I cut lawns with my uncle on Saturdays, the first Saturday game. He's all full of grass. He'd be working since 5 o'clock in the morning. We finally get to Cerritos College for the big game against Carson. He rushes for 275 yards and 5 touchdowns. Amazing, amazing young man.
What an athlete, Dan. Freeman McNeil.
Tremendous athlete.
Yep.
I was blessed with those kids. It wasn't me. It was the kids. It was the coaches. It was the program that we built at Banning.
That McNeil story, it's always the great ones that have a story like that somewhere. DeMar DeRozan, what's his name? The guy at Washington, the coach there, I can't remember. Lorenzo Romar. Romar had the same story, almost missing a state game, running across the field,
amazing.
bus was pulling out, and they held it for him.
It's amazing,
They needed Romar to win that game. But anyways, Chris, listen, we could go on again, like I told Vince, forever, and maybe we can do that in studio sometime. I'd love to have you in, and we can talk a lot about Banning Carson football and what it was like in the city section back in the heyday. It's just like Crenshaw Dorsey. I mean, they had their heyday too.
Oh yeah, Banning Carson together could beat any team in the nation
at
any time.
I agree.
In like '86, we had our best team ever. A best team ever in '86, and they beat us in the city finals. And we had beaten them earlier in the year, 35-6. But they came back and they beat us, and we were number 1 team in the nation,
right?
The USA Today for many years, for many months. But anyway, we lost, and they beat us bad. But what are you gonna do?
No, listen. You have nothing to be ashamed of, man. Your
It was
career
fun.
is as good as anybody's.
Well, thank you very much,
Chris.
Thank you.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you so much.
and Vince going in on the same day. Nothing better than that.
I'm really privileged. Thank you.
All right, now we're talking with Hall of Fame inductee and a track man. And I love track, and we're talking with John Smith. And John, you got one of the most popular names in America.
Yeah, everybody has used it, abused it, misused it.
Absolutely. Look at this guy. This guy is a sprinter. This guy is a cheetah. He can outrun anybody, outrun anything. At least he used to be able to, but he probably still could outrun a lot of us, though.
No.
Let's talk about your career in track, man. You were a sprinter. You were the best of the best. Obviously, you're in the LA City Section Hall of Fame now, and we all know what's going on in the LA City Section in terms of track and field and athletics, period. Great athletes.
Well, the thing that I remember, the commercial that came on, it was P.F. Flyers.
Right.
And there's a little beaver that came in and disappeared. And I saw that and I got excited. So I remember getting my first pair of Flyers. And I put them on and I ran so fast I fell down. And
You
I was only like 4 or 5, but
Wow.
I knew, I said, oh, I can run.
Yeah. So talk about your career, man. I mean, you were something in high school. You were absolute and professionally, you were actually a bigger monster. 100, 400, whatever. I mean, talk about it.
Well, when I started, I wasn't the best. So I had to see what it took to be the best. I always stood next to the person who had the light on them.
Right.
And I helped them bask in the light. So what I did, I worked diligently. I worked hard, I observed. I was never afraid of work. If work meant that I was going to be successful, that was fine with me.
Let's have it.
And so I just knew that if I outlasted everyone, and I kept coming every day with my dreams, and I'm oblivious to anybody else that has a dream that's counter to mine, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be successful because in my mind, I live my own dreams.
What's your highlight of your career? You have so many, but what is the one that sticks out the best? What is the best memory of your running career, your racing career?
Well, I can start with one thing. One of the best highlights of my career is being married for 35 years plus to my wife. And I have a daughter, I have a grandson now.
Is he intelligent or
Wow.
what? Is he smartest? I told you he was fastest man. Now he's the smartest man in America.
So, but what I did is I watched Wilma Rudolph, I watched Edie McGuire, I watched Bob Hayes, I watched the '68 Olympics and
Carlos and Smith.
Carlos Smith and Lee Evans. Those were my mentors, and they counseled me in a way in which empowered me. Because I remember the trials were in the Coliseum relays, and I went there and I came down on the field. And I just wanted to see what it was, and I just wanted to soak up some of that flavor.
Absolutely.
And oh man, that sent me over. I couldn't wait to get back to practice to run. I think I did. I ran home from there.
Yeah, he's always running. Ain't no bus. Well, hearing that you had mentors like Carlos, Bob, all these guys you mentioned. You watched Wilma Rudolph, Bob Hayes, one of the fastest men in America at the time. Played for the Dallas Cowboys afterward. Those are some pretty good top flight dudes and good mentors to pattern yourself after. And you know what? It got you here. Congratulations to you, man, for having a great career and doing what you did for the youth as well. And calling a claim to the LA City section.
Well, thank you kindly. And the one thing that I want to say that my dad told me, he said that the world does not owe you anything. You owe the world a good living.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Words to live by, words of wisdom. Hey, congratulations, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Let's go back to Bob Gibson.
All right, we're joined now by Hall of Fame coach Paul Knox. Coach, congratulations on the honor here. It's got to mean a lot to be recognized by your peers out here.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and it is an outstanding honor. This has been somebody, all these great people that are here and all the people that have come before me that were outstanding coaches and athletes. Hey, man, it's an honor to be here.
Now, people know about your 4 city titles in football. We know all about those, but you have 4 more city titles, and that is in girls track and field, correct?
Yes. We had some outstanding teams in the 90s that we won 4 championships with those young ladies. And, I coached track really for 25 years, so and actually started before football. So
really,
those were some highlights for having those young ladies and the state caliber athletes we had and state champions as well. So it was an exciting time.
Now everybody knows, Keyshawn and Chris Mims and Jonathan Franklin, all the great players who went on to the NFL. But like any coach, I'm sure a lot of your great memories also revolve around maybe that kid who came up and maybe wasn't the superstar kid, but gave it his all and really made something of himself. And those kind of stories are really some of the most great memories, right?
Absolutely, and those are some of the best memories you'll get. And even today, part of the things that I was thinking about is that how many young men and young ladies now are parents and have their kids participating in sports. And I go out to the youth leagues and I see so many of my former students and former athletes, encouraging their kids to compete. And, it just makes you feel good when you know that you had a hand in having some people mature into responsible members of the community.
And so many of those people have you to thank for that, for helping them in their life's journey. Coach, we want to congratulate you again, and have fun out here tonight, because it's a whole lot of fun and a well-deserved honor.
Thank you, and I appreciate it, and we're going to have a good time tonight.
Absolutely. All right, that'll wrap up the show from here at the LA City C.I.F. Hall of Fame banquet. We'll see you next week right here on the SoCal Prep Report.